Hello, people of the internet, and welcome back to the What Ifs Nintendo and SEGA Never Intervened series. We're at part 3 now, and last time we left off with Atari taking over in the place of Nintendo as becoming the most popular gaming company of the third generation, thanks to Hudson Soft, and their new hardware which allowed for games like Bomberman and Bonk to become popular, while in the real events it would have been Mario. These two now take the spot as video game mascots. But can anyone compete with Atari? Let's look at the 3DO company. I think they'd be good competitors. And I'll tell you why. So, we're gonna have Trip Hawkins, and he's gonna be the man with the know-how to defeat Atari. So, let's look at what happened to 3DO in the real events. And this is a very important factor. The developer of the 3DO in our altered events is going to be completely different to the three companies that developed the 3DO in the real events. The company that develops the 3DO in our altered events is one we all know and love in the real events, and that is Sony. But how do I arrive at this? Well, I'll explain. You see, way back in the early 90s when 3DO company were looking to make their console, they were going to approach Sony first because Sony were the biggest electronic company around. But Sony declined because we were working with a deal with Nintendo. Then Philips were tried, and Philips were working on the same deal, so you know how that turned out. And then eventually 3DO company turned to Panasonic, Goldstar, and Sanyo, and they all made consoles, and we know how that turned out. But now let's look at Sony. How can we make this console happen? Remember, one of the biggest problems with the 3DO in the real events wasn't anything the 3DO did wrong other than pricing. So, we get Sony Computer Entertainment, and Sony also has to buy out the 3DO company. Two things that are very logical. For one, it's a lot safer to do it now, because Atari's console is obviously much weaker than this, and so developers who want to take it to the next level are going to have to use this console. It's going to make a lot of money. And so now we have a juggernaut to compete with Atari. And yeah. So Atari can use the argument that Bonk's Adventure might be better than Gex for the 3DO. But take a look at Crash Bandicoot. I mean, that's a 3D game. You know? And compare it to the 2D Bonk's Adventure, it's obviously going to look a lot better. Despite what many people may think about the gameplay, you know, it definitely looks better. And now Atari have to go back to research and development along with Hudson Soft. And they develop a console called the Atari Jaguar. Yeah, we're here again. Two consoles that failed in the real events are now given a chance in the altered events. The Atari Jaguar, unlike the real events, is actually going to use CD technology this time around because there's no reason for it to use cartridge technology. One of the reasons the Atari Jaguar did use cartridge technology was because a lot of CD consoles at the time failed, such as the Philips CDI, the 3DO, the Apple Bandai Pippin, the TurboGrafx CD, and the Sega CD. But now, the only console to use CDs has actually been a success, so why not use CDs? But it's still going to be very complicated to develop for thanks to all this multi-processing mumbo-jumbo. But it's still going to get some good games. I mean, id and Ubisoft know how to take advantage of the hardware. Take a look at Doom, Tempest 2000, and Rayman. But one of those games is already going to be made for the 3DO. But at least Atari still have another first-person shooter in Alien vs Predator. So yeah, we've got a war going on. A console war. But is there room for a third competitor? Well, Philips obviously don't actually make the CDI now. The Apple Bandai Pippin turns out pretty much the same way it turned out in the real events. Let's look ahead. Is there anything to separate these two consoles? Well, third-party games like Grand Theft Auto are going to look pretty much the same on both, because despite the Atari Jaguar being more complicated to develop for, it's still very much the same as the 3DO. And the first-party games, they're really down to a matter of preference. So, I would say that the 3DO would actually win out, but not by much. It will still be a very heated console war. Is there still room for a third-party, or a third console though? Well, what about Microsoft? Microsoft developed a console in the real events, and they don't actually need anyone's help for it. Or do they? Did Sega really play that big a role in developing the Xbox? If the Xbox doesn't exist, Is there another console that's going to exist? Are we simply going to head towards an Atari vs 3DO 2016 console war? Find out next time. I've been the man with a plan. Thank you for watching my videos.